Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of the e-commerce lab by Ecomcy, the place with everything related to Amazon FBA, private label, and e-commerce. My name is Vincenzo Toscano, your host, founder, and CEO of Ecomcy. And today I bring you another special guest. His name is George Meressa. He's one of the king in the space when it comes to PPC. He's the founder and CEO of Clear Ads, one of the top agencies in the space when it comes to helping you expand your presence on Amazon throughout a PPC. And that's why I wanted to bring George. I've been knowing George for a while now. I've been following his content from the very beginning. So he's, one of the top guys in the space. And I know he has a lot of insights when it comes to advertising. And I'm sure, as always, he's going to be dropping gold nuggets, as they call it, on today's episode. So, George, it's a pleasure to have you here. How you doing, my friend?
I appreciate, Vincenzo, all the kind words. Thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to join you today.
Thank you, man. Thank you for being here. I know we've been sharing, a lot of experiences together, especially this year, going to so many events, so many activities. So now having you here, to share your wisdom is definitely a pleasure. I'm sure all the listeners and the ones watching are gonna get a lot of insights, especially because we know PPC has been changing a lot, especially this year, with new things such as sponsored TV ads, which was just announced, Amazon Marketing Cloud, all these new things coming into play. Like, the space is moving faster than ever, and that means you need to be on top of the game when it comes to ads. So I'm sure that's going to be part of the topic today. However, before we jump into all that, I think the most important thing, which I do this with all my guests, is to, give an opportunity to you as my guest to give us a little bit of a glimpse of how you got started into the space and what made you basically create Clear Ads, because I think that's always inspiring and give a lot of teaching. So can you give us a little bit of that history of yours?
Yeah, sure. So it was in 2009. I left university, and a friend of mine, Simon, asked me to join his agency. So went into Google Ads from then. After a few years, started managing the largest accounts that the company had, because at that point I was kind of there longer than most of the team, an accounts team. So I kind of knew my way around kind of PPC from that point. And then I decided to set up Clear Ads in 2011, and I kind of set it up as a dormant company for a few months, just to kind of see if I can get anything through the door. Managed to pick up one client, managed to get them really good results, and they've been with me for a number of years with Google Ads, and then kind of picked up through word of mouth and just other outreach channels, and then just built a company from there very slowly, very, very, very slowly. So it was just me for a few years, and it's just kind of organically growing. And I was kind of really doing it for kind of as a lifestyle choice. Nice. I really enjoyed the freedom I had, and that was great for a few years. And I tested, did Google Ads for a bit, messed with Facebook ads, then in LinkedIn ads, Twitter ads, Expedia ads, TripAdvisor ads, and then came across Amazon about 7-8 years ago, and it was kind of a blue ocean at that time. Kind of a friend of mine, she went for an interview at Amazon in London, and they said to her that they're really struggling to have any agencies take Amazon PPC seriously. So I was like, right, okay, bring it on. So that evening, I created a landing page on my website. I said, okay, I'm an Amazon ad specialist, and I ran some Google Ads. It cost me 50p a click to get traffic to my page.
A gift.
Honestly, it was beautiful, right? So I would get phone calls each day, and there'll be people saying, "Oh, I've been looking for someone like you for so long." And I was like, "Okay." And then so that's the tone of the tone of the call, right? So they're already sold, right? So it's my job at this point not to mess it up, right? So kind of went ahead, signed a number of clients up, and then I kind of started moving fast to kind of grow the agency. And there was way less work within Amazon PPC at the time compared to Google Ads, way less to do. So we kind of decided to make the bold move of completely moving away from Google Ads, even though we were ranking #1 organically within the UK for Google Ads. We just decided to kind of go Amazon, and then fairly early on we got into Amazon's demand side platform. We were fortunate enough again to be one of the first to get in as an ad agency, an Amazon agency. So there were obviously others using it outside of, like I said, outside of using it for products. So because of that, that kind of gave us another advantage. We were able to ride that wave too and pick up a decent amount of clients and help them grow their brand. And kind of we had to really learn and understand DSP ourselves, because there was not really any material out there to teach you how it should be run and how it should be done. So we kind of just through experiments figured it out ourselves.
Awesome. Love it, man. What a journey. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's actually very interesting that you actually made that jump from Google to Amazon, because I bet now when it comes to maybe even now comparing Google to Amazon as we stand 2023, like they're getting very similar. Amazon is catching up, of course. Google always had the edge, but I'm totally agree. In 2014, 15, I remember Amazon ads was very basic. Like you could target basically almost only keywords. You didn't have like sponsored brands. You didn't have sponsored display. It was pretty much you said it and forget it to some extent. And the huge advantage we've been seeing on ads when it comes to Amazon, it seems like Amazon's pretty much been following the same steps that Google took many years ago, right? When it comes to technology. Yeah.
And there's so many things that we forecasted would come into Amazon ads that has happened, because
Yeah.
basically Amazon PPC, Amazon ads, they use the
System
Google
maybe.
Ads network as a reference point. So
Yeah.
they look to introduce as much of that as possible within their platform. So so it's definitely there's some similarities there, and more coming from.
Awesome. Good. Now, when it comes to advertisement, basically the conversation we're having before going live is like how competitive is getting the landscape when it comes to competing in it. Like we see, especially in the US, like if you're not on top of the game every single day, like it's very easy to lose traction, lose your placement, your bids start not being efficient as they used to. So you really need to be very diligent with the changes that you do and the strategies that you keep implementing on your account constantly. So I guess my first question for you is like, what are some of the latest things you've been seeing changing when it comes to PPC that you feel like, wow, if people is not on top of this, like they're really gonna struggle? What are some of those things you see people dropping the ball right now when it comes to PPC? Yeah.
I think it's the comparison people make year
Mhm.
over year, and then they question their campaign's performance, and they don't take into account kind of their macro influences that we have affecting us
Mhm.
now. The climate is a lot harder now because there's much more competition. A lot of bigger brands are now entering Amazon, and they're not trying to make a decent trying to get a good
Yeah.
ACOS. They are trying to get share impression, like
Awareness.
the highest
That's it.
impression share possible. So they are really kind of driving CPC bids up. There's that to bear in mind. There's the fact just in general, there's been more people now selling on Amazon than ever before. Purse strings are now tighter because of just the way the economy is. So all in all, it's becoming a much more competitive landscape. So you can no longer just kind of stumble your way through Amazon and, oh, look, here we go. I made seven figures
Mm. Would you say
over
it's
the last.
becoming a pay to win, kind of, in some sense? A pay to win?
Uh, no, I
Like,
think pay per click has far more importance now. So I think in the past people could run no PPC and just kind
exactly.
of live off the organic traffic, but now it's a necessity unless you're in a gated category. Um, then you're going to need to spend on ads to ensure that you're maximizing your return and not losing and not compromising organic rank, because
Yeah.
everything on the top of the fold now is ads, is paid ads.
Yeah. Of course. And we were actually talking about how not only the complexity that it brings when it comes to all these new features that Amazon keeps rolling out, which at the same time translate into more strategies you need to be aware of. But again, PPC is becoming more and more important than ever when it comes to positioning your product. I mean, we were having the conversation that organically, if you don't have a very strong PPC strategy that is aligned with where you want to position your product in terms of which keywords you want to get long term, you're going to struggle. Like, as you mentioned, out of organic traffic, unless you are a unicorn, that you have a strong brand coming from Kickstarter and people know the brand and they search you organically, that's not going to happen. So I guess what I'm trying to get with this quick intro is when it comes to launching products on Amazon, how you see PPC in terms of importance playing a role right now? Would you say PPC keeps being the 80-90% full driver of organic ranking, or you're seeing more that now being blended in with all these things we're hearing about external traffic as well? What is your take on that, like when it comes to launching products? Yeah.
I think when it comes to kind of ranking for particular keywords, a
Mm-hmm.
big factor is the conversion rate,
Mm-hmm.
and ensuring that your conversion rate is above the average for that keyword is so important. That's going to determine a lot of the results that you kind of get back when it comes to
Yeah.
ranking organically. So that's less the case with external traffic, because you know, especially traffic from Google Ads, doesn't matter if the conversion rates ain't that as good. If you're getting a decent amount of sales through it, it's going to help with kind of the sales velocity. But that's been one of the key focuses in terms of how we work and how we've been able to improve organic ranking is just completely focusing on the conversion rate. If your conversion rate isn't better than kind of the average for any term, or the average for that category is lower than the average for that category, before you waste any money on PPC or try and scale or anything, you need to actually stop and you need to revisit everything else. You need to go back to your offering. You need to look at your images. You need to look at your listing, because if you haven't got that in order and you can't successfully differentiate yourself,
Exactly.
you are literally just going to pull your hair out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think some of the most successful companies that we work with is those who are constantly innovating and constantly bringing out new products, and just changing the way they do things all the time, always coming up with new promotions, new ways to sell their products, and that has a huge impact on PPC. So, on a grand scheme of things, PPC is determined by everything else. So I'll give you one really good example. We had one account, right?
Mm-hmm.
We pushed PPC. Now
Yeah.
the conversion rates on PPC, on average, were lower than the conversion rates they were getting through organic rank.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Now, because we pushed PPC, organic rank started to drop overall.
Mm.
So you would assume that, we're sending all this extra, we're giving all this extra money to Amazon. We're giving, we're getting more exposure. We're increasing the velocity of sales. No, it actually had a downward impact.
Hard thing. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think the one thing to bear in mind is, Amazon, they're going to care more about the ratio of those who click to make a sale than anything else on any given product, because that's the second place where they make their money. So not only are they making money on the ads, they're making money on the sale. And if you can get yourself into the mindset of how Amazon's thinking in that sense, then you can really save yourself a lot of money and know exactly what areas to push.
This is very interesting statement, because sometimes we keep hearing the space, especially when I do audits to clients as well. They have the mindset that they think that if they basically give unlimited money to Amazon when it comes to spending on ads, that could be the key to positioning the product, because in their mind is that, yes, I'm losing money, my conversion is not great, but I'm having momentum in terms of sales. But it's interesting that now Amazon cares more about how you convert more than trying to pay your way up to first page if the conversion is just not there. You see what I mean?
I think it's always been there. I think the conversion rate's always been important, but there was a lack of a need to really focus on it, because it wasn't that competitive. We have more data now available to us to make those decisions, to understand better exactly what they're looking for. So having that in mind is definitely kind of something you need to do, because
Now, when it comes to the data, that's also an interesting point, because we're also having the conversation that we're basically on a period in time that managing your ads only on the platform is becoming very difficult.
Oh, you can't do that anymore.
Yeah. So you need basically now tools to support you, or at least have a hybrid approach where you do certain things in the platform, certain things with the software. So now, can you walk me through about why you think we have reached that phase, and why now more than ever you really need a tool to support your optimization when it comes to that? Yeah.
I think there's some tools now that I've really clocked on to how how Amazon work and what you need to do to ensure you can stay ahead of the game. The two tools that we use a lot of the time is PACKFU. So PACKFU is I don't think there's any other tool better than PACKFU out there right now. And then secondly, it's Scale Insights. So that's the second one. The big benefit that they have is, Amazon, I think they announced recently that you can adjust your budgets compared to, what your ACOS does and et cetera, which is great. But with these tools, they create far more layers. So you can create so many rules and layer them on top of each other. So you can say, right, if you figure out for a particular keyword that, the average conversion rate is 15%, you can put rules in there to say, right, if the average conversion, if the conversion rate for any of my keywords hits above this particular percentage, increase my bids, increase my budget. If the ACOS goes out of control, reduce my bids by X%. So you can put all these rules in place that no human could ever keep track of.
Especially if you have a ton of products and keywords, it's impossible. Yeah,
exactly. So it does all of this like instantly. And I think the key thing that it bears in mind here as well, especially with PACKFU, you can put in conditions to ensure that you don't cannibalize on your organic sales too.
That's interesting.
So when you hit certain positions organically, you don't push PPC for those terms as much anymore. Why we use the budget there when you can then transfer it elsewhere? But I think one of the biggest moves that we're seeing at the moment is how Amazon is putting more importance on the information you provide within the product.
Okay.
Right. So they want to see as much detail and information about the product as possible. So one of the agency owners put into one of the group chats, I think 2 weeks ago, they put their agency name as a keyword on Broadmatch. Right.
Okay.
Now for that particular product, it actually showed keywords, the search term results showed terms of that product, even though they put their agency name, which had no relevance to the product.
Exactly.
So this basically shows that actually Amazon is looking at the information you provide it to kind of have a much better understanding of what you're selling. So this puts far more significance on not only ensuring that your titles and your descriptions are completely fleshed out with the terms that you want to appear for. You can also take it a step level. You can be adding alt tags to your images. You could be answering some of the questions within the questions and answer section of your own products, right? To really make sure you've got it completely covered. Your base is completely covered. Yeah. So when launching, for example, you can't really do auto campaigns and push that hard anymore. You should really be going through the terms that you want to target and really pushing them on exact match and teaching Amazon, this is the kind of terms that we are supposed to be ranking for. This is what we're about. This is exactly what the product is. Otherwise, they can put you in the wrong category. Exactly. So there's a lot here you have to bear in mind, because if you don't get that right, it doesn't really matter how much you push PPC. Like it's really like interesting to also, when we do audits on accounts, just to see how many people don't fill in the back end when it comes to keywords. Yeah. Like it's just astonishing how that's neglected, and that is becoming way more significant now than ever before.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the back end, I'm also surprised when I do all this. Like, people leave so many empty cells on the back end that are huge for building a relevancy. And I think relevancy is a huge thing, because even going back to sometimes troubleshooting when it comes to PPC, I'm sure you have seen this. If you don't have the right subcategory, Amazon is not going to even allow you to do advertisement on certain keywords, because you haven't built the connection between what your product is and the meaning on those keywords in the first instance. Yeah. And with that tip you mentioned right there of auto campaigns, that's a killer mistake I see people doing a lot of times, especially when they don't have the experience, that they just throw a ton of money on auto campaigns. They let Amazon build the relevancy for them. And then 1 month, 2 months down the line, the whole history of the ASIN is attached to a bunch of keywords that don't make any sense, like what you just say. They're super difficult to revive it. You basically are starting from zero. So super important then.
Yeah, and I think another huge change that we've seen, and literally we've taken this into play on a number of accounts that we manage, is just the stock levels, as simple as stock levels, right?
Exactly.
So OpenBridge, who deal with big data, they had this article come out in June. I actually put something on LinkedIn about this, and basically they just announced that Amazon partnered with them, and they are providing real-time data on an inventory per region. So you're able to get information about your inventory per region. Now, at the moment, we're not able to send products to certain parts of the US, right?
Yep.
So Amazon has complete control over that, but there is significance in that. So if you're, and within the search query performance report, you can actually see how many products are able to make it within same day, 1 day, and 2 day shipping. So there's a lot of products that are not able to make it within that window, right? So they instantly lose the Prime badge. So not just to share fact of not having enough stock, right, will reduce your organic rank in certain states, and it will also reduce the share in traffic you get through PPC.
Yeah.
So just making that adjustment on 1 or 2 accounts recently has helped organic sales just soar.
Yeah, that's actually super interesting. That's basically that's what we call the geo ranking, which is it makes sense. Like if all your stock is in Florida, and somebody in California wants to buy the product, Amazon is not gonna basically promise next day delivery because of the logistic hassle it takes from their side. So it makes sense. They will basically rank higher your competitor against your product. Now the question here is though, how from a practical sense, and these cases you're working with some of the clients, you could figure out like how much maybe extra inventory to send, or for example to which location to send it. Like, are you using some kind of software for that, or how you make the decision?
Well, I actually put a sheet on a LinkedIn page. So if you
Nice.
someone did follow, go
I'm gonna
into our
put it down in
LinkedIn
the
page.
description.
Yeah. So I could find that post, but basically we use a Google Sheet, and it's very simple formula where we get business reports information, and we also get kind of inventory, like stock inventory information, and put it into a Google Sheet, and just looking really to have 6 to 8 weeks worth of inventory, and then that will show you the trending day, kind of the day rate, etc. So it will tell you exactly how much you need to send in.
So awesome. So yeah, we've basically been talking regarding how inventory can be beneficial when it comes to organic positioning. And I know you actually did a very interesting post about this in LinkedIn regarding how you can basically leverage the data from your Amazon account to basically come to some understanding of how to make some sense of that data and understand how much data you should have to leverage your position. So can you give us just a high level, and then I make sure to put the details in the description about how people can basically have an understanding of how much stock they should have in hand to avoid losing positioning across the board.
So we do about 6 to 8 weeks worth of inventory per product. And the way we do that is we're looking at, okay, what is the daily run rate? So how many units are you shifting per day? And then it automatically just calculates, okay, how much do you need to have 6 to 8 weeks worth of units, and how much you need to send to Amazon. Obviously, you need to ensure that you've got the capacity on Amazon to kind of send that number of inventory, but you want to have that in place. But you also want to look at the trending daily run rate. So look at the last 2 weeks, because there might have been a decline or there might have been an uptake. So right now, you're probably going to see a massive uptake in increase because it's coming to Q4. So you really need to understand what that is, and then that gives you an idea of kind of how much you should really send into Amazon per ASIN. And you really want to send those units that are moving. So those that are not moving as much, you want to do that.
Awesome, very good. Now, when it comes to now shifting gears, because I also have this question for you, because I know you come from the Google world, and I think this would be interesting to touch on the topic, which I haven't discussed on a couple of episodes now, which is external traffic. I know we briefly touched at the beginning, which is also an important formula if you do it correctly when it comes to helping towards your positioning. However, we saw how there's been also some development on how more and more brands are adopting using the strategy, for example, running Google Ads to drive some traffic when it comes to Amazon. I wanted to hear your take on that because I know you come from the Google world. So have you seen that? And what is your take on that of using some external traffic such as Google to help you mitigate the competition that you might encounter by running Amazon PPC? Yeah.
I think there's been a number of brands that have used Google Ads, and it's definitely worked to their advantage. I think one thing to bear in mind is the searches made on Google compared to Amazon is like crazy. There's way more people searching on Google. So if you can home in on those specific terms that are related to your product, then there's an opportunity for you to really increase sales in terms of what you're doing on Amazon. So conversion rates we find are not as important when you're bringing traffic from Google, because from Amazon's point of view, this is a very credible traffic source. So Amazon used to spend a great deal of money on Google Ads to kind of show products on there, but now they want us to do it. So it's definitely going to work to your advantage. Now it's when you can get a decent volume of sales, it starts to make sense. So you're not going to get an ACOS like you get on Amazon ads, right? Unless you have a really good offering, or if you have a high ticket item, then there's a stronger chance as well. You'll get a decent ACOS, but it's going to really work towards your favor, because one sale that comes from Google is going to have a lot more weight than a sale that comes from Amazon, because you're bringing a potential new customer into Amazon's ecosystem. So that's going to obviously have way more weight. Not even just a sale; it's going to be those who add to cart. And even now, we know you can actually send promotions to those who add to cart. So there's a lot more that can be done. So there's no harm on sending traffic from Google to Amazon.
Awesome. And now to conclude, based on everything you've been seeing, with the brands you guys manage at Clear Ads, is there anything else in terms of insights or predictions you want to share when it comes to PPC or Amazon in general that you think would be valuable for the people listening and watching this episode, so we can conclude?
I think it's going to get harder over the next few months. I think like Q1 is going to be somewhat tough for a number of brands, because just economy and the way it's going, it's just going to be tighter. So that's going to be one of my predictions here. And I think it's going to be a lot of people who just stop selling on Amazon. So those who are doing it right and doing it well, they're going to reap the benefits, because I think there's going to be a drop in competition in certain areas.
Awesome. So basically, you feel there's gonna be a consolidation of the market, a cleanup in some sense.
Yeah.
Awesome. Very good, George. So thank you so much for this amazing conversation. Whenever we talk, there's always something good to learn from you. So I appreciate that. And before we conclude, can you tell us a little bit more about your agency, Clear Ads, how people can potentially work with you guys, which I know you guys are top in the space when it comes to ads. So how people can reach out to you?
Yeah, sure. So you can find me on LinkedIn, or just go onto the website clearadsagency.com, and just give us a shout, and we'd be happy to just look at your account and give you some pointers on how you can improve. I would say if you're curious in terms of what we do, by all means, just give us a shout. We can always do an audit, and it has no cost to it.
Awesome.
And I think one of the big benefits is we've been in the game for a good amount of time, and I think there's definitely some value to be held from just kind of getting a few pointers. It could be 1 or 2 pointers that we give you for free that actually ends up helping increase your bottom line. So so by all means, feel free to reach out.
Awesome. Thank you so much, bro. I appreciate it. I'm going to make sure to put all your information down in the description. In the meantime, I want to thank you for your time, and see you in the next one. Yeah. It's been a pleasure to have you on board, man. Yeah.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.